This is my audience. Okay. Do you remember the last time you had some chocolate? It could have just been a plain chocolate bar or a cookie with some chocolate chips in it. We eat a lot more chocolate than I think people realize. The average American eats a little over 11 pounds of chocolate every year. Now that's a lot of chocolate. Today I'm going to inform you about chocolate. It is a part of our everyday lives, and we have all eaten something with chocolate at some point. I got all of my information from credible sources about how cocoa beans are made and the history of it all. The facts about the process of making chocolate were all from a company that produces handmade artisan chocolates. I'm going to begin by sharing the history of chocolate. Then I will move on to how it is made, and finally the different types of chocolate that can be produced. To get started, let's look at the history of chocolate. It all began in Mesoamerica, or present-day Mexico. According to Jack Kim in his 2019 article, A Brief History of Chocolate for an organization that features handmade artisan chocolates, it is believed that the Olmec were the first group of people to turn the cacao plant into chocolate. However, they didn't make it the way you would imagine. In the beginning, chocolate was strictly a drink, and they didn't put in any sugar. The Olmec actually drank it in rituals and used it for medicine. Later, the Mayans made their version of chocolate. It was a brew made of roasted and ground cacao seeds with chilies, water, and cornmeal. The Mayans praised their chocolate as a drink of the gods. Many years later, the Aztecs got chocolate, and they used the cocoa beans as currency. They thought that the chocolate was a gift from Quetzalcoatl, who was their god. Eventually, the chocolate gets outside of Mesoamerica. The first place it appeared was in Spain. It is unknown exactly how the chocolate arrived here, but it is thought that Hernan Cortez brought the chocolate there in 1528. The Spanish king kept chocolate a secret for a long time until a wedding happened. French King Louis XIII married Anne of Austria, daughter of Spanish King Philip III, in 1615, where she brought chocolates to France. Shortly after France had chocolate, Britain followed. When more countries in Europe started producing chocolate, many started their own cacao plantations along the equator. At this time, the American colonies did not have chocolate until, as stated by the History.com editors in a 2018 article, History of Chocolate, when a Spanish ship brought it there in 1641. The popularity of chocolate began to grow more and more and became a major import for the American colonies. Now that you know where chocolate began, I will explain to you how it is made. The beans are harvested from the cacao tree. According to an article, Chocolate, The Journey from Beans to Bar, by the Rainforest Alliance, an international nonprofit organization working at the intersection of business, agriculture, and forest to make responsible business the new normal, in a 2014 article, cacao trees grow within 10 degrees of the equator. The pods grow directly from the trunk and can reach 4 to 12 inches in length and ripen into many colors, such as red, yellow, and purple. The harvesting can be done by machine or manually. As stated in a 2020 article, Harvesting and Post-Harvesting Process by International Cocoa Organization, an intergovernmental organization established in 1973 under the auspices of United Nations and operating within the framework of successful international cocoa agreements. After pods are harvested, they lay out for a week to 10 days before they are broken to remove the wet beans inside. Then the beans go under fermentation, which can be done many ways. Every process has one thing in common though, in which the beans are put into a box where microorganisms initiate the fermentation of the pulp that is surrounding the beans. After fermentation, the cocoa beans must be dried. There are two ways this can be done: sun drying or artificial drying using fuel dryers. As stated by a previously mentioned article, Chocolate, The History from Beans to Bar, there is 5 more steps to make chocolate: roasting, winnowing, grinding, conching, and tempering. Roasting sterilizes the beans and enhances the flavor. Winnowing is the process of taking the shells off of the beans. Grinding takes what is left and grinds it by machine or between 2 stones to make cocoa liquor. Conching is the process of mixing the chocolate liquor at certain temperatures. This process can take hours to days and develops the flavor, removes moisture, and breaks down the large pieces. Finally, tempering takes place where the chocolate is slowly heated and cooled so that the cocoa liquor can solidify and stabilize. This is just a basic process, but there are many other steps that can be taken to make the different types of chocolate. The first type I will tell you about is milk chocolate. Previously mentioned article by Jack Kim also explains that this type of chocolate is solid and made with milk that can be in powdered, liquid, or condensed form. There can be many different percentages of cocoa liquor used to make the chocolate, and the United States government requires at least a 10% concentration of the cocoa liquor. The next type of chocolate I will explain is dark chocolate. This is the kind that is a lot less sweet and has a more bitter taste. There is no milk added as all the fat comes from cocoa butter. Dark chocolate contains a 70 to 100% concentration of cocoa. A third type of chocolate is cocoa powder. This is made from pulverized cocoa solids that are left after extracting the cocoa butter. It is usually used in baking or could be used in chocolate drinks. If you have ever been in the store shopping for cocoa powder, you may have seen the regular kind or the Dutch one. The difference is that one is made using the Broma process with no additives. The Dutch processed cocoa is processed more with alkali in order to neutralize the natural acidity. The natural cocoa is more commonly used in baking, while the Dutch chocolate doesn't have as strong of a taste and is more commonly used to make drinks because it is easier to stir in with liquids. I told you about 3 different kinds of chocolate that can be made, but there are many others, some of which include white, ruby, raw, compound, and modeling. Today I told you about the history of chocolate, how chocolate is made, and the different types of chocolate. Remember the question I asked you at the beginning? I bet you could think of a time that you had some chocolate in the last week or two. Just think, you probably eat close to 11 pounds of it every year. The next time you bite into something chocolated, just remember there's a lot of history behind how it came like it is today.